am talking nonsense.
Episode 113 of Chet and John's Reassuringly Finite Gaming Playlist. My name is Chet Roivas. With me, as usual, is John Denton.
Hello.
Usually, this is two top 10 lists. Same as last week, it's going to be actually two top 5 lists because once again, nothing's come out and we've both been extremely busy. But it's going to be two top 5 lists. There's 5 games we've been playing over the last 7 days. Number 5s are the games we've been playing the least. Number 1s are the games we've been playing the most. That's it, John. Do this.
My number 5 was going to be a game called Flex, but the code didn't work. This is a game that you arranged for me to play, like some weird arranged marriage. And the code that I got for the PC version, it's also available on Xbox Live Indie Games, I believe, didn't work. So I cannot play Flex. But so instead, I thought, okay, I've got about 10 minutes to find a game to fill this slot. So I'll Google best Flash game ever. I did this and ended up with a game called Earn to Die. Don't know how anybody could ever call this best Flash game ever. One of the worst gameplay ideas I've ever seen. Basically, you play as a car in a side-on map. You call it, it's like a bunch of hills and valleys, and there's some boxes. The idea is to knock over zombies. As you knock over zombies, you earn money, and then you can upgrade your car. But the whole gameplay is based around a system where you run out of fuel. So the first time you put it on, literally, you start as this car and there's zombies there, and you think, okay, this could be all right. You drive for about 10 meters and it goes out of fuel, and then kicks you back to the menu to spend the meager amount of money that you got on a bit more fuel. And so you do it again and you get a little bit further, and you do it again and you do it a little bit further. And I think, why would anybody want to do this? Why would anybody spend their time doing this? Or why would they make it? There's no microtransactions or anything like that. Maybe there is on the, I think it's also available on phones, so maybe you can pay on there. But in this Flash version, it's just that. I think you can attach some things onto your car later on if you choose to, but you just wouldn't, because there's nothing. I don't understand why it exists, why anybody would spend any time playing it unless they found themselves in the unique situation that I found myself in.
Was that the top hit?
No, it was like the fourth. It was the fourth thing I found on Google. Like the first was stuff like Bejeweled and shit, and obviously I wasn't going to play that. Fourth thing on Google, it was like a Yahoo Answers thing. So someone out there thinks it's the best Flash game ever. Probably the person that made it.
Correct, yes. What was it called?
Earn to Die. A name I forgot instantly and then had to look up again.
Okay. All right, well, I'll never play that. The game that you were supposed to review, Flex, is a game that I played on Xbox Live Indie Games, and I played the trial, and you should have just played the trial. But we contacted the maker and he sent that code that didn't work. Flex is an Xbox Live Indie. I don't even think it's available on PC. I think it's only on Xblig. So what he sent you may have been some kind of developer build or something. I don't even know what it was. But Flex is Tetris. It's literally Tetris. The one thing that's most bothersome about it is that it's on Xblig and it costs the maximum amount that you can charge for an Xblig game. So I think it's £4. For some reason, you can only use the right thumbstick and the D-pad, which is really weird. And presumably to sort of avoid copyright issues, he's messed with it. And you never mess with Tetris. You know, there's just weird shapes that don't fit, and it's all, just a million people have attempted to try and replicate Tetris by adding shapes, and it just never works. This isn't quite as bad as a Disney one that was on the N64, which a friend of mine lovingly referred to as Chernobyl Tetris, where like they have shapes that were half the size of the screen, etc. But anyway, you go through the menus and you realise that there's options to change everything. So although it's not officially Tetris because there's different shapes, you can change it so that you turn certain shapes off, etc., etc. Anyway, it's awful. The input delay can be altered, but I tried that and you couldn't do it on the trial. It's just a really terrible rip off of Tetris that I wouldn't. And it's £4 or whatever. It's absolutely terrible. The worst part about it is that there's a terrible a piece of electronic music that plays and then it stops, and I've seen some really snide ways of cutting corners with regards to using rights-free music, but after that terrible electronic piece of electronic music, which I assume the maker of the game made. It just goes to Hallelujah, Hallelujah, a recording of that old song. I don't know, was it a hymn or whatever? But a recording of that. A recording that sounds so old. It sounds almost like it's predates the invention of audio itself. I kept thinking of like monasteries centuries ago and stuff. It's such an old recording, but yeah, because he couldn't be bothered to make music or borrow something a bit more contemporary, he just put the first piece of Ryse music on, which doesn't fit. I mean, it's terrible. I was hoping you'd get a chance to play it, but no, Flex. I mean, it's just god awful.
I'm kind of glad that it didn't work. Oh, I will say that it was a 9 meg file and it took 20 minutes to download, which is quite something. And then it just didn't work, and my computer's probably got some sort of horrible Flex-based virus now. Yeah,
well, maybe we'll just stop playing that tune. Flex, I mean, I can't believe it exists. Why should it?
Yeah, so that wasn't technically your 5, was it? Or less it was? Was it?
No, it wasn't. No, I didn't. No, it wasn't. My number 5 is on your list also. It's Everybody's Golf on the Vita. Mm-hmm. Where is it on your list?
It's number 3.
Oh, right, okay. Well, let's just wait till then.
Okay.
We'll do it then.
All right, then. My number 4 is a game called Ultimate Fighter Bros on the Android. Noticed this on the Google Play Store and thought all games on there seem to be free now. Nothing seems to cost any money. So I just thought, well, yeah, obviously I'm going to download this because it's got cartoon people in MMA gear. I'll download it. And what it is, I swear it's a game I've played before, and maybe involving either luchadors or robots that... Basically, the two Ultimate Fighter bros, just MMA cartoon guys, on either sides of the screen, and you press the screen, and a little arrow will come up, and it will sort of go from horizontally down and then move to horizontally up. So you let go whenever you want the arrow to stop, if that makes any sense. And your little fighter guy will ping across the screen at that angle. And the person you're playing against, you play 2-player against a computer, is doing the same thing. The idea is to try and land your guy on top of the other guy, and then he'll do like a wrestling pile driver on them, and you have to do that a couple of times to win. I fucking swear I played this exact game maybe on an Xbox, but either using things that look like Mexican wrestlers or robots. But I may have just dreamt it. But it's all right. It's a fun little game. It's better in 2-player because you get a little bit tactical. It has a problem where when you hold the button, the screen, I should say, and the arrow moves to the top, if it gets all the way to the top, it kind of cancels your thing, but it cancels your jump and you have to start again, which I guess is a deliberate gameplay system, but it just ends up being very irritating because the window of opportunity to do that is far too big. It's just bit crappy. But when you get into kind of a bit of a cat and mouse game of trying to jump on the other person's head, it's perfectly fine. I guess if you had it on a tablet, there's probably enough room for 2 players to play on the same screen. It's not going to change the world. The MMA link is tenuous at best. But for a little freebie, for a 5-minute something to kill some time, it was actually okay. But again, I swear I played this exact gameplay system before, but I just can't remember. If you're out there listening and that really rings a bell and you know what I'm talking about, please do tell me.
Did you Google it? Maybe it's made by the same company.
I didn't Google it, but it more struck me as this was a rip-off of that, because I remember in my mind that was a much more complete game. But I may have just made it up. I may have dreamt it.
All right, okay, well, it sounds quite interesting anyway. It sounds fun enough.
Yeah, it is fine. It's just like a little it's like the type of toy that you get on front of a comic. It's just nothing. But yeah, it's absolutely fine. It didn't cost me anything.
Okay, all right. What was it called?
Ultimate Fighter Bros, which is an annoying name, but so be it.
Yeah, what can you do? Okay, all right. Well, this is the week of games that were supposed to be on the lists and aren't. My number 4 was going to be Dust: An Elysian Tale on the 360 because it's the current Xbox Live.
That game scums me out.
Game for gold. Why?
It's all furries. It's like a game about furries.
Is it?
Yeah, it's sort of anthropomorphic animals, which isn't a hugely unusual thing for a game to be about, but it's definitely. Everybody's kind of a bit sexualized, and it just scums me out. The whole furries just kind of makes my skin crawl. But if that's what you want to do, go for it. But personally, for me, it just kind of makes me feel a bit violently ill.
Just a little bit violently ill. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I sat down with this because it's free, and I thought I'd have a look. But as it started, I realised going in really that I would not have the time to give it a decent shake anyway, and In the opening 90 seconds, I just lost count of the number of cliches. I must retrieve a sword from this, and there's the war ravaged this, and then I was just like, I can't. This is not my kind of genre. Well, it's not the genre. It's just all those trimmings I can't really stand, and it's not because it's not a current game. It's like Bastion, which is a game I actually really like because it's so many years old, rightly or wrongly. I kind of the compulsion to play it is very light. So I'm sure it's good. I've heard nothing but good things about it, but there was just no point to me jumping in because I knew that I wasn't going to engage with it, and I knew I wouldn't have the time to finish it anyway. So anyway, I jumped onto Rock Band Blitz as I do whenever I turn on my 360. As we mentioned last week, the Amplitude Kickstarter is still ongoing. It's chugging towards 1/3 of its total funding, which I don't even know if it will make. So that's basically not going to happen. I thought it was kind of weird. Just as a prospect, it was weird anyway because Rock Band Blitz was more or less Amplitude, and people didn't engage with that at all. I've seen people on Twitter, fairly prominent industry people, going, "Oh, we've got to make this happen," but I know that they abandoned Rock Band Blitz quite quickly. Anyway, I wanted to try and put my work hat on and kind of look at Rock Band Blitz and assess whether I'd overrated it when because it was far and away my game of the year in 2012, and I just wanted to try and be a bit objective and see if I was wrong. And yeah, no, of course not. I wasn't. It really is just. I think it's one of my favourite games of all time. I mean, it's so perfectly tuned. I mean, it took them a little while because there were patches and whatnot when it was for the first few months. But and I do have to say, actually, I mean, I'm sure I've said this before, but I think that the game as it comes, there's 5 tracks, but I think the 4-tiered tracks without the keyboard works so much better just because the keyboard track is always an annoyance and nothing more. But then again, it kind of, that's the way it was in Rock Band 3. I mean, the bringing the keyboard to Rock Band in Rock Band 3 was basically kind of desperate, a bit of a folly, really, because, I mean, it was implemented with the care and skill that you'd expect from Harmonix, but and it was almost worth it. If you ever played a full band and you had the strap around your neck playing the keyboard and you played The Power of Love, you're just like, that almost makes it completely worthwhile. But there are so few songs that use the keyboard consistently throughout, not ones that anyone want to hear or that are on Rock Band anyway. So yeah, on Rock Band Blitz, I think that the actual songs that are packed in are not as effective as DLC songs with just 4 tracks. But Rock Band Blitz does demand work. I mean, back when it came out, I was getting number 1 rankings for the first 6 to 8 months. They're all gone now. I'm all like in the top 10, top 20 in some cases. I'm still floating around the upper echelons, but I really feel looking at just playing it and looking at my scores and stuff. I remember I really worked for those. I studied the way the power-ups work, how pieces of the song take shape, try to assess whether using one multiplier on a solo negates activating all of the tracks together. It's so complex and so brilliantly tuned that I'd say it's just harmonics. It is perfect. I think basically as a rhythm action game, it's basically perfect. I think that it involves a lot of work, and a lot of people didn't want to put in the time, or it didn't grab them fast enough. I know too many people who abandoned it way too quickly before they even knew what the game essentially was. So yeah, I just think it's an incredible masterpiece still. The servers are going to go off at some point eventually, and that kills me because without the servers, the game can't work. But yeah, Rock Band Blitz is just absolutely amazing. I think everyone should play it, especially if you're mourning the demise of the Amplitude Kickstarter, because there are a hell of a lot of similarity. It is very much a sort of a much meatier and more complicated Amplitude, but amazing.
Of course, absolutely. Not only are they not going to hit their Amplitude thing, but they've been shafted today by Microsoft ditching Kinect for Xbox One because their game is obviously a Kinect game. Then the Fantasia. Yeah. So they must be like, cheers, thanks for that, guys. Damn. But yeah, I mean, what can you do?
What are they going to do? Are they just going to implement pad support as well, or something like that?
I really don't know. I mean, I guess they didn't for Dance Central, so I guess it is. Obviously, you couldn't for Dance Central, but I mean, I don't really know how that game works. I just know it sounds amazing. So I've got Kinect, so I'll get it. But yeah, they have had a bit of a kicking.
Yeah, incidentally, if you're thinking about buying an Xbox One, buy it with Kinect. You're saving £50, and that device is actually vastly underrated. Going by some, a lot of people are keen to diss it. I was having this conversation earlier today about how people are just very, very keen to diss that thing. But for the sake of £50, it's definitely worth that. For God's sake.
Yeah, it probably actually is.
Do you not think? Probably. Do you not think it's?
Well, yeah, it is worth £50. I mean, the price is absolutely ludicrous. It's £350 without it, when people were buying it for less than that with it weeks ago. And then, I mean, I was in Tesco's yesterday, and it was £3.99 with Titanfall, a game that costs £50. So, yeah, it's just madness. I did because it's it's $399, isn't it? So, right. I put that into the exchange rate. And I know things don't translate, and we always end up paying more, but that's $230.
Pounds?
Yeah. Sorry, yeah, pounds.
Yeah.
$400, so $350, $230. I mean, that's a bit... $300, I think, is the correct price.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all very strange. But yeah, Rock Band Blitz. I wish I wish I could just have it permanently on all my consoles.
That's the problem, that the fact that the servers are going off. That's doomsday is a coming.
That sounds like a terrible Kiss song.
It does as well. Actually, it was really funny. We were trying to leave. We were going out, and my girlfriend was like, "Okay, one more song," and I thought, "Okay," because I can never remember most of the songs. I just picked one. I saw "Short and Sweet." "Short and Sweet" by Spinal Tap goes on for about 15 minutes. That's the joke. It's the first time in a long time I've laughed at a Spinal Tap gag. But yeah, I thought that was quite funny, especially because I was being rushed and I got a right old bollocking.
I like it. I don't like Kiss though.
No, me neither.
Where are we on this list? I'm really confused.
You're 3, so golf, I guess.
Oh yeah, everybody's golf. We've been getting the multiplayer going, haven't we? This is probably stuff that's people have been doing for ages. But yeah, the asynchronous multiplayer on Everybody's Golf on PlayStation Vita, really, really good fun. Obviously, works really well. Works exactly like a Words with Friends or something. It'd be nice if you could get. There's no real way of doing it, but it's difficult to get the notifications as you would with a phone asynchronous game. But yeah, just watching your opponent play their strokes. It works one hole at a time, so you'll play your hole or whatever, your strokes to get it into the hole, and I'll watch that happen, and then I play after you. Watching you fuck up that putt on the first hole was tremendous, and yes, I will continue to play that forever. And if there are people out there who fancy a game, please let me know.
That's incredibly harsh, but I'll on a subsequent hole, I'm sure I'll give you a kicking. The way that that multiplayer works is a little bit. I mean, it's quite poor, because at first you have to start the game and then someone has to accept it. You can't have your go first, which seems slightly antiquated.
That was weird, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a shame you can't have asynchronous going on between any more than 2 people. Which it'd be nice to have a 3 or 4.
You mean like a round of 3 people playing the same round, as opposed to you can have more than one game going at once. Yeah. I mean, if we could have like a 3-player game, so it's I don't think it would be hard to implement at all. It's just it's a shame it's only 2-player. It's a very, very fine game. It is incredibly similar to the new Mario Golf. So if you have one and not the other, there's no reason to have both at all. The putting grid that I loved so much in Mario Golf is actually clearly an evolution of this one. I hadn't played one of these for a little while, but I do think it's more refined in Mario, mainly with regard to the use of colour to sort of denote the grooves in the ground and stuff. But you don't need both. I mean, that's aimed at kids. This is aimed at perverts. No, this is aimed at people who know the sport a little bit better. Because there's all that great stuff in Mario Golf about learning the sport, etc. Blah blah blah. But Everybody's Golf is it's a very fine, very fun game, and it's on the Vita for good. Probably. I like the little characters that you can make to represent yourself online.
There isn't a lot of leeway for change, though.
No, but I just made my guy look like a weird mustachioed paedophile, basically, which kind of fits the tone of the game.
Yeah, I didn't. I didn't even notice. I haven't looked at those characters because I've only seen like 2 settings you can change, unless you play the game single player and then you unlock stuff. Blah 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 blah. But it's a very fine game indeed.
It is a cracking PS Plus freebie. Yeah, I still haven't played the other one that we've got this month. I'm sitting in my Vita, the Muramasa one, but I shall. I'm sure.
The what? What's it called?
Muramasa Rebirth.
I didn't realise there was another, because I just downloaded that Sly Cooper from the other month, so I guess I thought that was the 2.
There's Muramasa Rebirth as well. I think it's like a side-scrolling kind of Golden Axe type deal, maybe.
Okay. Is it Vita only, or is it PS3 as well?
I don't know the answer. I think it's Vita only, but then again, when do I ever know anything?
That's very true. Okay, all right. That was my number 5 as well. So now we're on to
your number 3.
Number 3. Okay, my number 3 is World Cup FIFA 2014 Brazil EA Sports, whatever it's called, on the Xbox 360. Now, I hate to bring this up because, for many reasons, we've covered it. FIFA is not particularly interesting to talk about, and I assume, like myself, lots of our listeners are not FIFA fans, but God, I think they've really got it right. I think this game is really, it's the first time they've really got it right for a little while. There's so much more drama. I mean, I've no doubt that's more intentional, whether they, for some reason, feel the need to kind of restrict that in the normal FIFA games, but there's so much more drama when I play this online. I've already had more than 10 properly classic matches online. And I doubt I've even played 30 games in total, because the 10 of them are like classic. I've told stories about them to friends, etc. It just gives you the opportunity to orchestrate things. You feel really in control, and when you make a mistake, it's your own mistake. I had one game the other night. It was late, I think Friday or Saturday evening, where I wish I could have just shook the guy's hand after the game, because he was all over me for the entire game. And I would say I was lucky to keep it at 0-0, but it wasn't luck, because the game allows you to properly defend. You're so in control of almost all of your players, and it doesn't do that infuriating thing that FIFA 14 does, where sometimes you can't switch players. The amount of times I've been on co-op seasons and Jay's been on the wing, and he's like, right, mark the guy in the centre, and just click, click, click. I want to select the guy in the middle. I can't. Even if you have it on manual switching, it still doesn't do it sometimes. I don't know what the hell that's all about. Anyway, this guy was absolutely annihilating me on possession, on shots, and I really feel like I orchestrated the final push. It was just amazing, just faked him out a couple of times, did a sneaky little turn at the end, and then just, I did a tiny little chip through ball. What's his name? Welbeck? Curled it in the top corners in the 90th minute. And in FIFA 14, that kind of victory, a goal, because those games like that happen all the time, where you can't get anywhere, and then in the last second you score off a header of a corner or something. Those victories in FIFA 14 feel really hollow, because I really think that's a game of chance more than skill, and this isn't. This is all of those my defending, I feel like, won it for me, and the game allows you to do that. So yeah, I mean, I think it's if you're umming and ahhing about it, I think it's a really, really good game, really good, especially if you're playing online. Get involved.
Danny Welbs.
Danny Welbeck, is that his name? Yeah, he's all right. He did all right for me.
If you want to go to a good Photoshop Tumblr, go to welbsisthatguy.tumblr.com. It's amazing.
What are they pictures of?
They're just pictures of Danny Welbeck in hilarious situations. But yeah, there's so many of them that it just becomes amazing.
Well, I love the name of it. What's it called?
Welbs is that guy. And it's just like Obama saying Welbs is that guy and stuff like that. It's a fucking hilarious website.
Okay, good. Welbs is that guy. I have to remember that. Good.
I could tell you the story of why it's called that, but I don't think that's for this podcast.
Okay.
All right then. My number 2, I just want to think about Danny Welbeck now. My number 2 is Ryse, Son of Rome on the Xbox One.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I went back to this after starting it a little while ago and talking about it a little while ago. And played a few more hours. I don't know exactly how far through I am. And, it does look amazing, definitely. But the animation isn't very good. And it kind of loses some of its awe by the fact that the characters you're fighting just all look exactly the same. If you're fighting the guy with the long hair and the beard and the shield, every single one of them looks exactly the same. Because they look so good, it kind of looks a bit stupid. I know it's a common video game thing. It's always been a problem with games forever. But here it just seemed to particularly stand out more than anything. And as I kind of ploughed on, I just started to find it really, really fucking boring. And I just don't know if I'm going to have the heart to continue, because it's just that combat, it's fine, but it just started to feel a little bit like Simon Says. Like, okay, this is the guy that I need to press A to block, then hit him with Y, and then slash him twice, then hit him with Y, and then slash him twice, and then press the right trigger to execute the execution moves, which take forever. And after you've seen them a few times, they kind of lost their appeal a little bit. And because you're a guy in heavy armor with a heavy weapon, yet he can kind of do this instant roll and stuff, and it just didn't have the weight that I want from it. There are bits that I like. I like it when you set up in formation and you move forwards, and obviously there's some amazing looking set pieces, but too often it seems to fall back on here's a bunch of more guys. Here's a bunch of more guys to fight, and I just started to think, what am I doing? I don't have much time to play games. Why am I playing this? So I don't know if I'm going to get back to finishing it, to be honest.
Oh, well, that's a shame. To be honest, I thought. How long have you played it for?
So sort of 3.5 hours, something like that, maybe.
You can't. I mean, because I think the whole thing's like 5 hours.
That was it.
That's why I never found a problem with being through, because you move into a new area, you get enemies. It was never like you move to the corner and then they move in. You know, it was not one of those games that I thought overwhelmed you with combat situations, despite the fact that you weren't progressing. I thought that it moved really, really fast. And yeah, it's dumb. I mean, everything you said is completely true. It's a really dumb, very quickly assembled thing to show off the machine at launch. But I liked it. I suppose. I mean, I was unsure at the time how it would hold up, even a few months down the line. So I guess not brilliant.
I think if I'd got an Xbox One day one, and I got this with it, I would probably definitely smash through it. But now, games with graphics like that aren't quite as impressive as they were even at the back end of last year. And it does look fucking good. I don't want to underplay that. But yeah, I was just sitting there thinking, I've got a few other things I need to be playing. Stuff's coming out very soon. Is this the one that I should be spending my time with? And then I turned it straight off. I may still go back to it. Maybe just I need to play it in very small chunks.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I had those worries back then. I remember thinking, I don't know if this is going to hold up very well.
Have you ever played the online? Or there seems to be some sort of online mode in there?
Yeah, online co-op. It's surprisingly good. Yeah, it's just waves of enemies, but it works really well.
How does it?
It's pretty. I mean, it's the same simplistic. You know, I mean, if you know someone who's got a copy of it, I mean, Zeno, I think, has got it. I mean, he'd happily go through a couple of.
This is his copy.
Oh, of course, you borrowed it from him, didn't you? Okay, well then I don't know, but then I think you can matchmake against randoms if you want to have a look at it.
I might have a look at it. Yeah,
it's worth a look. Yeah, but yeah, it's not a brilliant game or anything.
No, it's kind of just like Infamous, but not. You know, don't play anything like it, but kind of that level.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Okay, my number 2 then is Record Run on iOS.
I'm very interested to hear about this.
Yeah, I played it on an iPad. It's also available on other iOS. Is Android? No?
Not yet. They're working on it at the moment.
Okay, well, it's a free-to-play endless runner by Harmonix, and yeah, it's very, very simple. It's an endless runner. You collect records, and you run down a street, and you can move left or right between 2 pathways, or you can jump, or you can duck. So all it is up, down, left, right. That's it. But it syncs with your music. It really genuinely syncs with the music that's on your phone or your iPad. I've been waiting for a game like this for years. I remember when I found out that Vib Ribbon, the old PlayStation 1 game, you could put your own discs in.
Yeah.
And it would supposedly sync to the music. It didn't sync to the music at all. I mean,
it didn't really, no.
It didn't at all. I remember just looking at the mess that came out when you put a CD in there.
I've still got that game.
Thinking back, I'm convinced that Vib Ribbon was tremendously overrated because I mean I've considered myself to be something of a connoisseur of that genre, and I never thought it worked as well as it seemed to. So I'd be interested to play it now. I don't know who did. Was that in-house Sony?
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah,
so,
it was.
Maybe it'll appear at some point.
Maybe. Well, I have it, but we just don't have a PS1.
True that, yeah, and I don't know why we'd want to play it anyway because I thought it was Papsky, but maybe I was wrong. Who knows? Anyway, I tried. Vib Ribbon did not work. This really does work, and I tried a mix of songs. I tried some Mitch Murder, Public Enemy. I stuck some old Slayer on there, and all of them worked perfectly as far as I could tell. You don't just have to play well to succeed. You have to gamble a little bit. And when you're moving your guy around really quickly, moving him around obstacles, under obstacles, it sort of seems to accentuate the music even more. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that wasn't a coincidence because it happened way too much. When you're really trying to sort of earn points and jumping around, it always felt like it was going to the music. It might be in my imagination. I don't think it was. The controls are supremely responsive, so you can switch lanes and then dive under a sign and then jump back and then jump over something in basically one fluid movement. I didn't have any problems with the controls at all, which I thought was quite, really impressive, really. And that's the game. It's incredibly simple. It's the polar opposite of something like Rock Band Blitz. It's not complex in the slightest. And actually, just because of the absurd competition, this is pretty much unquestionably, this is Harmonix's worst game. But it's very entertaining, very enjoyable. You only need to buy one thing in the shop if you want to ditch the adverts. But if you can stomach them, they pop up every couple of songs. If you can stomach them, then you can just keep earning backstage passes, which is one of the currencies. The other one's the records. And then you can just keep adding song slots to import your own music, and then just keep playing that way. So there's no real sort of, you won't feel necessarily the need to keep paying for, spending money on it. But I just thought it was really entertaining. It's going to stay on my phone, and it actually works. That's the best thing about it.
Good old harmonics. Yeah, I hope this makes a bit of cash for them then.
Well, yeah, it's still got that structure. Would you like to buy X for so many records, or would you like to buy X for 20 backstage passes, etc.? But all of that stuff is just characters, and you can buy multipliers, etc. So, I mean, it's stuff that I've found very easy to just completely ignore. So every couple of games you win a couple of backstage passes, you import a new song, and then you just keep playing it. It's pretty neat. I'm quite happy with it.
Yeah, I'll definitely be picking it up when it does eventually arrive on Android. Yeah. No doubt about that. Not that I have any music on my phone, but yeah, I should rate that. Who cares? Why am I even talking about that? Yeah, I'll get that shit.
Do it.
Okay then, my number one in this week of no games coming out is a game that I've been meaning to catch up with for ages. It's Dead Rising 3 on Xbox One. Yeah. Obviously, you've spoken about this quite a lot, plenty when the game came out, and then all the different DLCs. And I probably said at almost every juncture that I wasn't hugely interested in playing it because I didn't like the first game very much, and I didn't really like the second game very much. But in the time that I spent with this one, apart from the slightly tedious opening 5 minutes, I guess, I've enjoyed it a hell of a lot, actually. It's really impressive. I don't know if you said this, I think you probably did, but out of all the games that have come out so far across the two next generation consoles, I don't count the Wii U really in that discussion just because of this particular point I'm trying to make. This is the only game I'd say that actually feels next gen to me. Just when you look out across that many zombies, I mean, it really is quite something. Even though like the resolution could be a bit higher, I guess, but it's an amazing amount, and they're all kind of moving individually, and they all look different, and they all obviously can be killed. There's sections where, I got to a sort of higher plane and looked down. I was really impressed, and it's very good fun. I've done stuff where obviously a lot of it surrounds finding blueprints in the world which allow you to combo weapons, and as you said, you can do that on the fly because the guy you play is like a mechanic or it's some sort of story reason. It doesn't matter, but it's a good reason. And then coming up with like hilarious things. I found some blueprints, so my guy was wearing like this weird Chinese dragon helmet and he's got wings. Yeah. So that was good fun, and just flying through, headbutting zombies. I mean, it's fucking daft. Just anybody, like you said, anybody who was concerned that they'd lost the Dead Rising humour, they absolutely haven't. It's a bit grittier visually. Like the character model is actually really good as well in the cutscenes, but it's definitely. I mean, my guy's just wearing a full suit of armour with aviators underneath it at the moment. So, I need to play more. I would really like to play it on co-op. I've left it open so anybody can join my game. Random person can join my game, because I think it wouldn't be a game that is that would detract from my fun. I think that would actually add to it. Kind of umming and ahhing whether to do the side quests as well. I picked up one, and some girl wants me to find 3 paint cans or something, and I was like,
rubbish.
Yeah, don't know, but I kind of want to do a bit to level up. I don't know. It's just one of those open world dilemmas that you get. But just getting in a car and smashing through hundreds and hundreds of zombies, and every single one feeling like they're intelligence is the wrong word, obviously, but they feel like an actual interactive. Sentient being in the world, rather than just being a mess of polygons like stuff in the previous generation when there's been that many things on screen. It felt like really, really impressive, and I like it a lot. Tiny complaint, I think there's a bit of input delay on the gun controls, which is a bit annoying. Doesn't feel as smooth as it should, but then again, the other gun game I've been playing on Xbox One is Titanfall, which is incredibly responsive. So maybe it's just I'm too used to that. But so far you're definitely right that not in terms of it being good, but in terms of me liking it. Long way to go, obviously, but unlike Ryse, I can definitely see me sticking with this one. And it's a shame that I can't play it co-op with someone I know. Really, it's not going to happen. But really liking it so far. It just feels like it's just a wealth of options available to me at every corner in terms of the stuff that you're going to find on the street. There's loads of stuff to do. It looks really amazing and feels like actually a good reason to have a next-gen console.
Well, yeah, good. I'm glad because it is. I really do think that game is really, really entertaining. I mean, you can get through the whole thing without the side quests.
Really? Okay, I'll do that then.
Because you just don't. I mean, the way we leveled up was just you just go. You're going to point A and you just turn and you notice that there's a shitload of zombies down the road. So you just go and sort of. Have you merged a steamroller with a bike?
No, I haven't done that. That sounds amazing.
It's like a steamroller, but you've got all these spikes at the front and you can just mow them down. It's so much fun. But yeah, I mean, if Microsoft make their games with gold thing, if they're going to try and compete with Sony, there's obviously a chance that this might turn up on there one day.
Yeah.
If it does, then I think you'll be sport for people to go and play co-op with.
Very true.
But yeah, don't. Well, maybe abandon it. I don't know. If you get the urge to abandon it, it'll be good. It's something to jump back into a few months' time.
I think I'd like to try and rattle through it before games start coming out again. Obviously, Watch Dogs is out at the end of the month, Mario Kart, then UFC is out a few weeks after that. So it's just a little gap to play something single player. So I'm gonna go back to it definitely. This is something I'm gonna concentrate on until the games start coming out. It shouldn't be too much longer.
It's also again, it's another game that's definitely the right amount of time.
How long do you reckon it will take to rattle through the single player? If I was basically just doing the stories.
8 hours, probably less than that. I mean, I think I'm trying. It's hard to remember because I was playing on co-op and we just ended up spending an incredible amount of time just going off and killing zombies.
Yeah.
I mean, 8 hours top whack. I think. I mean, you can move through it quite patiently. There's no really irritating difficulty spikes as far as I can recall. And it is a very fine game. The best Dead Rising by far, I think.
Yeah, I dig it. Yeah, I'll stick with it for sure.
Don't download the downloadable content though.
Don't buy it? You mean?
Yeah.
Oh no chance. I think I've downloaded it because there was a 12 gig update, which is absolutely ludicrous. But yeah, I certainly won't be playing it.
That's weird. So they make you download that, even if you don't.
I couldn't install the game without downloading a 12 gig update, which is nuts. But Xbox One.
Well, to be fair, you have to do that on Battlefield as well.
Yeah.
Even if you haven't bought the DLC, the patch is part of the.
Yeah.
So pretty daft. But yeah, good. I'm glad you played it anyway. It's a good game.
It is. Yeah, I can tell even from the first few hours.
Faith. Okay, all right. Well, my number one is a game called Super Time Force on the Xbox One. It's also available on the Xbox 360, and it's out this week. So it is actually a new game. And it opens. I mean, you've heard of this, obviously.
Yes.
It opens with a wall of crawling text, which was just. I won't spoil it. It's just stupid gags and references, and I just thought I'm all over this already. It's a retro 16-bit style platformer / shooter, and at first you play as 3 characters. One of them's a ranged character who can shoot through walls and fire rebounds off walls. And then there's a Rambois, Gene Rambois, Rambois. Who's the pretty standard meathead with the spread shot machine gun. And then there's a character called Shield or Shieldy or something who can create a protective orb around himself and has a shield. But anyway, those are the 3 characters you start with. Every world you encounter a new character who joins your squad. It's a side-scrolling shoot 'em up, but the main system is that you press B at any time to tag in a new member of your team who can be the same team member you've been using the whole time. Basically, you have 30 seconds to do with the entire level, and it's really hard to explain. Actually, as simple as it is. I mean, you know how it works, don't you?
Do you die and then rewind, and then you add another person to your team, and the other person it replays your initial run, and you join forces with your replay.
You basically tag in a new. It's called a timeout. You have, I think, around about 30 per level. And you have to you can use them to stop time from running out. You can also pick up little clocks. It's not complicated, or is it complicated? It's definitely hard to describe. I know that. Oh my god, I don't even know how to explain. I assume. I mean, if you go and look at a trailer, that's a really great way of trying to understand how. I didn't even think properly how to try and explain how it works. It is simple once you get your head around it. Basically, to play it is to experience just a series of eureka moments. Because you basically stop your. I don't even know how to explain it. I'm completely stuffed. I'm stuck. I don't even know how to explain the way the game works. Basically, throughout the course of the level, you can have. Let's say there's a wall you have to bust down. Mm-hmm. You shoot it for a certain amount of time. The clock runs out. You rewind the clock. Your other guy's dead, but everything he does until he dies is still going. So then you rewind to the beginning, bring another character in, and then you've got double the amount of fire on that door. That first character will still die, and you can progress, and you've still got the extra time because the clock ticks.
Gotcha.
I think that makes vague sense. But yeah, you just. Playing it, you constantly realise how the game works. I think throughout the whole course of the game, and it runs for about 6-7 hours, but there's so much replay value. But as you play it, you constantly, there's too many to count. But a big one for me personally was realising that I could go off, I could take one character at the beginning and just run off looking for collectibles and extras. And then when they died, when the clock ran out, rewind all the way back to the beginning and then do the level as it is. And all the collectibles will still be caught up because he's still going to go on his run.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's the process of dying. You can run into battle and just get shot, and then you're mandatory to. You have to do a mandatory tap out or whatever it's called. I can't. Timeout. Sorry. So you rewind and go back. And at first, whenever I died. I was just doing the same thing again, but I realised that of course I could attempt to save that first play. You basically steam forward and shoot whoever killed him, or destroy the fire, and then he will still die. But you can jump on him and collect him and sort of use him as a collectible almost, and you've got an extra life because everything's one-hit kills. But
okay.
And you also have elements of their weapon as well. I'm making it sound really complicated when in reality it's really not. I think the thing to say about it is that. The only potential problem, and this is not a fault of the game, is that the tutorial the process of the tutorial is quite long, and just because of the mildly complicated nature of the game, I didn't feel like I was properly grasping it until like an hour had passed. So if people play on 360, I don't know whether the demo will do it justice. Because it's absolutely worth sticking with. I'm worried about the demo's ability to convey what the game is, because I didn't really even feel like I was grasping it until way after the tutorial had finished. But yeah, there's a replay system as well. Again, this is on Xbox One, not Xbox 360. So after every level, you watch the whole thing, as with all of your replays going at once. And it's amazing because you always all you see is opportunities to do things quicker, where to cut corners. You know, if you see yourself vaguely look to go and see if there's a collectible up there, you just realise you could rewind and go and sort of cut that out completely. So it's going to be great when there's a community of people sort of going after high scores and speed runs and stuff. It's going to be amazing. I mean, basically the game is superb. I've seen the reviews came out. Today, and there were a lot of 8 out of 10s where I think this is a 9 all day long, absolutely positively. It's taxing both to fully understand at first and to play in spots. It's definitely challenging, but it's rewarding, extremely rewarding, and just so much fun. I think it's really, really tremendous. And if you have an Xbox One or a 360, it's basically a must-buy, I think.
So what happens? You go through... The levels are quite short, but there's a lot of them. Is that how it works?
They're not really that short. Basically, if you have one character and you've got 30 seconds, you've got to go. You can collect all the clocks and stuff, but you won't have enough time because killing enemies takes quite a while.
Right.
So you have to kill all the enemies, and it's really hard to describe. And even when I saw the trailer, when you sent me that link a couple of days ago, I wasn't quite understanding how it works. It's both simpler than it's definitely simpler than I've made it sound, but it's simpler than you think. It's still an action game at heart, but there is a lot of scope to experiment and just, I don't know, it's so difficult to explain. You're just constantly shaving time off by destroying things faster, and when there's multiple paths, which it doesn't happen very often, but there's occasional sort of, you're kind of invited to waste time a little bit, like go and see if there's a collectible down there, walk over there, rewind, go and take another person and go in a different direction. It's not complicated. When you understand it, it's just brilliantly exciting, and it's an action game with real momentum and pace. I think it's absolutely fantastic, even though I've probably just sounded like a fucking mental case trying to explain something. Because I thought I had it. I thought I was going to be able to explain what it is, but it's not complicated. It is an action game, and it's a effing brilliant one. So I'd say try the trial.
I definitely want to get it.
Yeah, you've got to play it. I mean, you've got to. It's the first game since Titanfall where I've just been like, everyone should play it. It's weird that it's appearing on Xbox and Xbox One and 360. Because it very much seems like the kind of thing that would be on Sony.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind that Microsoft and Sony's policies toward indie games have completely flipped, and now Microsoft seem to want nothing to do with it, and Sony are like, give us all the indie games. So the fact that this is an Xbox One exclusive, Xbox and 360 exclusive, is a little bit unexpected. But if you have either of those machines, I finished it earlier today, and I just think it's absolutely superb. Truly, I mean, it's truly superb. So just take my word for it, even though none of this has made any sense.
I'm in.
Okay.
I'm there.
Just get it. It's brilliant.
That's going to happen.
Genuinely brilliant.
Sweet. Yeah, that's exciting to hear.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll probably talk about that next week, which we will endeavour to do back to full list, full 10 list of 10 next week. Yeah, thank you very much for listening, though, as always. Check us out on Twitter, at John Denton, at Chet Roivas, at Chet and Johns. Check us out on YouTube, Chet and John on YouTube. You can go on Facebook if you want, but I don't know why anyone goes on Facebook anymore. It's just pictures of seals with no skin and things. It's just horrible. Yeah. What else is there in the world? Just come and bother us, talk to us, download a podcast, review us on iTunes. I don't know, do whatever you want. It's up to you, innit? See ya.
See you later. Play Super Time Force. Take my word for it. It is the business. Goodbye.
Bye. DLCs.
I ask you, sir, what sort of word is that?